Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do the countdown, episode number 106. That's right, fans. And for the first time ever on the countdown, I have a co-host. That's right, guys. And there will be rotating co-hosts with this show now going forward. So I think it will add a different dimension and have one of my longtime viewers or friends or fans that have been watching my channel, they'll be right, I guess the closest you can be side by side, given their opinions on the comics as well. So, and my good friend Nick here is on air. So say hello, Nick, and then tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi guys. I like comic books.
How long you been reading?
I've been reading comic books since 2004. I got not as long as you have, Mike.
Right.
But I've read a lot of comic books, probably a little more than you have.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't read as many each week because I don't think my brain can comprehend as many comic books as some of you guys can, because my brain can only hold so much. But I have been reading a long time, and I like quality books than the quantity. So I tend to read things that I like, and I don't force myself to read books that I dislike. Being a reviewer, I read a lot of books, but at the same time, it's like I still try to keep true to what I've always believed in. Enjoy what you like, so because there's a lot of books out there right now. So do you have your own YouTube channel?
Yes, I do.
What is it, Nick?
It's just under my name, Nick Lenz.
So that's easy for everybody to understand and to find. So if you guys want to check out Nick Lenz's channel, go ahead and check out his channel. So what we're going to do is I'm going to count down my books just like I usually do, and then I'm going to get Nick's opinion on what he thinks of this book. If he agrees or disagrees with me on the status of this book, of where it should be on the countdown. We all have our own opinions, but it's great to hear everyone's different opinion on here. So with that being said, we're going to we have 16 books to talk about. We're going to start from the worst, and we're going to make it worse slowly all the way to that top book of the week. So this week's book, number 16. You ready, Nick? All right.
Yep.
Here we go. Number 16 for me was Extinction Agenda, issue number 2. This book for me, even the last issue of it was really rough. I think the art is like his real inky, and I just don't like really the plot. It's like this virus that's going around that's killing the mutants or whatnot, and what's happening in the issue is that I guess they went for help, and they're like Jean Grey and I think Beast, none of them would grant them help because they were in quarantine. So what happened was these mutants attacked the other mutants to get the healer, and then they go to heal their own, mutants, and it became this crazy ass battle that just didn't stop all the way through. The biggest problem with this book, I felt, that is that there's too much action going on. There's too many characters, and you kind of can't make out anything that's going on in this book. So it is very frustrating to look at. And again, when you look at this book, I was just like, oh, who's this person? Kind of, who's that person? Kind of looks like this. And I don't know. I just found it all over the place. Just wasn't my favorite book to read whatsoever. And then in the end, it's just like it's going back to the other group, and it's like, well, now we got to attack them. Even if it puts ourselves at risk. So I don't know. I thought the book was okay. It was nothing special. When I'm looking at it, I'm giving it like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. So what do you think of this book? Are you a fan of this one, Nick?
I did kind of like it, but out of all the X-Men for Secret Wars, it's actually one of the more weaker ones, alongside with E for Extinction. But E for Extinction has got a better story, but this one's got the better artwork than E for Extinction.
Right, right. Yeah, I just didn't. I just don't like the artwork. I just don't like it. It's just too blotchy for me. Just too much going on in it. Just like with the action wise, and I felt like it's kind of for me. It's just a simplistic plot. So, but it was number 16. It wasn't like the worst comic I ever read. It's just there were so many really good ones this week. So, and that's why it fell at number 16 for me. All right. So, anything else you want to talk about with that comic book?
Um, well, it's an okay read, but doing a follow up to a crossover that probably not a lot of people are familiar with, um, not exactly a good idea on part of Marvel to do at this point. But they could have chosen any other crossover to do an alternate universe version follow up to it. But why Extinction Agenda 4?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. So we'll see what happens, though. I'm going to keep reading it. I'm not going to drop it. So we'll see how it ends. I think, what's this one, like 4 issues or 5 issues?
I think it's about that much because a lot of the Secret Wars books in about 4 to about 5 issues. Though I think Red Skull, I think that's 3 issues.
Is it? Okay. I thought that one was a standalone, so I'm not too sure. But all right. Well, that's cool. All right. So as the show goes along, guys, we're going to take along your questions and comments like we usually do. If you have any questions for Nick, you can ask Nick as well. As always, you can ask me. Give me your opinions on the comics. Tell me your top books of the week. Tell me your worst book of the week, your favorite book of the week. So just let it flow, guys. All right. So next book we're going to talk about this week was my number 15 book this week. And my number 15 book, and it's funny because we were kind of talking about it for before the show, and it was actually Green Arrow issue number 42. This issue for me, I thought was an average issue. It was 3 stars. I was reading this issue, and I just found myself, it was very boring, very dull, very mediocre. The artwork was okay. You get these crazy like robots in issue number 42, that look like this. And I'm just like, I don't know if this has never fit this Green Arrow book since it's been around in the New 52 period. I don't think I've ever seen something like this, and so it was just very awkward. And, these robots, they go crazy to start ripping people's arms off or stealing hamburgers and stuff like that. It was just very odd story. He gets his bike. He has this dog, I guess, that he's working with now. This was a very slow book for me. This was something here that I wasn't entertained at all. Whereas past Green Arrow books, I was very entertained here. The enemy I found not likable, and it was just lackluster for me. Again, I don't know. Maybe the best part was the dog. I like the dog at the end. It was kind of cool. He's howling because I guess his master's in danger or whatnot. So I don't know. I read issue number 41. I read these back to back, and both issues I wasn't impressed with whatsoever. What do you think about this one, Nick?
I thought 42 was actually a little bit better than 41 because, well, for one thing, Green Arrow was actually in the comic, unlike the previous comic. He was like halfway through it. And I still beg the question, where the heck is John Diggle?
And, where Felicity? Is he? Well, they're not coming back, though. They're from what I heard, that since it's the creative team, the new creative team, for this new run on the book, it's away from the whole Arrow TV show thing, and it's now more towards, like, from what I heard, more similar to Lemire's run. So they're going strictly back to the comics and getting away from the TV show now.
Well, John Diggle showed up toward the end of Jeff Lemire's run.
Yeah, that's true. I think Diggle will still be in the book. I don't think you'll see Felicity, though. I think she's going to disappear. If she does, I would be surprised. You remember, you get to see, like, the old cast, supporting characters from Lemire's run. So you get to see, what's her name? Naomi? Is it Naomi? or
I think so.
Nico. That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
and Nico
and Nico shows up.
and the boy, what's his name? Neff Christopher or whatever his name is. I think that was his name.
Yeah. Though it seems odd, though, that they have her still there, even though that during Lemire's run, her adoptive father Komodo was pretty much like the main antagonist of Jeff Lemire's run.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
So,
he showed up on the show this season, on the Arrow TV show. He showed up for like one
yeah,
episode.
yeah, he did. Jeff Lemire's run was good, and I really enjoyed it. And Andrea Sorrentino's artwork, for me in that series, it worked. It worked with the grittiness and the tones of the book. And when I look at Sorrentino's artwork and other things that's going on right now, I like it, but it doesn't fit. But for some reason, for Arrow, it fit for me. And even though this one's not similar, it has that darker tone to it. It just here, it doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't work. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for Oliver Queen to have more of a personality in this. It's like too serious, you know? And I don't know. There was nothing here that really got me excited to read Green Arrow going forward. I actually might drop it for a while because I read so many books. I actually might drop this because 41 and 42, I wasn't entertained whatsoever.
The one thing that's also missing from the book is Oliver's company. There's no mention of it hardly at all.
Mm-hmm.
Queen Enterprises.
Yeah, there was a little bit of mention in there, but not too much. And I think, and we've talked about this on Comic Frontline too, is when you forget about your supporting cast, you can't even remember them. That's a pretty sad supporting cast. They're not memorable, right? I mean, come on.
Or how about bringing any of his villains? I mean, even though the Merlin did show up in the previous arc, some people tend to think, oh, they bring you from TV show. Merlin has been a long-time enemy of Green Arrow, and yet some people forget that he appeared in the comic first, then the TV show, but yet the current creative team doesn't bother to use any of Green Arrow's known villains.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Head-scratching.
Yeah, I would like to see more something different from Green Arrow. It just, I don't know. Like when the New 52 one came out, it was just so like typical 90s comic style, and then Jeff Lemire made it was a really well done run, a real good story. And now this one just is like, where are we going with it? You know, I really don't see
I think by the time Jeff Lemire had come on the book era gone through about 4 different writers.
Yeah.
One of whom was J.T. Kroll. He did like the first 3 issues by around. The book era gone through at least 3 different writers, some of whom co-wrote, and then of course you had Anna Senti taking over. Now, you're probably thinking, Anna Senti, probably the book go downhill. The book was actually a little bit better with her on board, but Jeff Lemire basically skyrocketed the book to be much better.
Right.
That's my opinion about it.
Right.
What about you, Mike?
I don't know. I just want, you know what I want on Green Arrow? I'll tell you what I want. I want consistency on the title. That's truly what I want. I want consistency. Someone that's going to write a good story, good artwork. There's just been too much change for the title for me, and I don't know. I can't adapt to it well, you know. I know we've been getting a lot of change when it comes to DC Comics, but a lot of the change has been pretty good. I've enjoyed it. I've kind of enjoyed Superman. I actually like Green Lantern. I thought it was good, issues 41 and 42. And we'll talk about that later. But when it comes to Green Arrow, it was just like, oh, I hated the beginning. I liked the middle, you know, with Lemire. I liked the Arrow part of it, the actual where it had to do with the Arrow show. And I thought the artwork was solid on that. So I was excited about that. But they ended it too quickly.
Brighter under Kensberg. The artwork felt a little bit brighter under Kensberg than during Lemire's run.
And there was more personality. There was a little bit more personality in it. And here it just goes back to like Green Arrow seems like he's Batman, you know, too serious, too dark. And I don't
think of the new costume that they gave him?
What was that? I didn't hear you.
What did you think of the new costume they gave him?
I don't know. It's okay. It's fine. I'm fine with the costume. You know, I just want Oliver Queen to have a personality. I just don't want him to be like Batman, you know? The costume's pretty cool. It's okay. I mean, you know, certain costumes work for me and then other ones don't. I don't think this one was so much of a drastic change to where it was like, oh, you know, he still has a hoodie, you know, he's got this arrow across his chest now. So, but it's fine. It's fine for me.
And for some reason, the writers of Arrow like writing him like Batman for some reason. They did it this previous season.
Right, right. So I don't know. We don't need another Batman-like character. So who knows? All right. Well, we'll go forward.
As long as he's not killing people like he was in the first season of the show, like in the comic.
Yeah. All right. So we got.
Overall, I think he's only killed maybe 2 people overall over the years. He killed Prometheus in Cry for Justice.
Right.
And I think it was like one other person he killed, but I don't remember.
Right. Okay. You broke up there in the last second.
But I was saying about him killing people.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, he hasn't killed anybody in New 52.
Right. No, he hasn't. Okay. Let me get some comments here real quick. And Michael Martin says, I made it, guys. What books did I miss? Well, we only talked about Green Arrow so far, and we talked about Extinction. That's it. Those were your 16 and 15 picks. And Dylan Henry says, hey, guys. And Michael Martin says, I saw number 15. So, all right, guys, thank you for watching. And we'll take your comments as you go. Again, please put down anything that you feel necessary. So, all right. So we're going to move forward here as soon as my thing loads. All right. So next thing is we're going to go on to number 14. And number 14 was actually, it was kind of interesting for me. Same thing. It was like an average book, but it was a good story. And it was Battle World Secret Wars Journal. This is a story where it has Doc Samson in here, and he's like this therapist, and he's the therapist in the Greenlands. And what he has to do is he's counseling everybody because everyone's changed into a Hulk. And everyone goes through like road rage, they change into a Hulk. They get into an argument, they change into a Hulk. And I thought it was a well done story in here. And I thought the artwork was bright, it was colorful. There was really good facial expressions through this issue. And the cool thing is about at the end of this particular story, and I'll touch on the other one first a little bit later, was Peter was in this story, Peter Parker, and he actually what's it called? He talks about his Uncle Ben and his Aunt May and how his Uncle Ben passed away, and you know we all know the story. And he gets very angry and he turns into a Hulk in this issue. And you get to see him change into that Hulk. And it was funny to see, you know, Peter Parker as a Hulk. Now, in the Web of Spider-Man comics, he actually was a Hulk at one point. So it was kind of like a throwback to that in a way, which I thought was very interesting. But I like the emotional moments between the characters. I thought it was well done there. And, you know, this gives you an idea of how the Greenlands work and how important Doc Samson's job is to try to keep a civilized population, because they could all eventually kill each other later on. So I thought this was really well done part of the issue. The other story was a story about how Wolverine and who was it? The Punisher were actually detectives, and they were trying to solve a case because what happened was who was it? Tony Stark was the one that got killed in the issue. Yeah, who killed Tony Stark? Mm-hmm. And they were working together, and you thought it was the Mandarin, and the Mandarin's like this adventurer. But you find out that there was all these doppelgangers, and it was all because they were from the different universes that were interfering. So, and you find out again at the end of the issue on who was the actual killer of Tony Stark. And that was really well done because I like the little nods that they throw to certain characters. Oh, you're like, oh, that's the Mandarin, but he's like this adventure guy. And they talk about the rings and all this other stuff. Art was kind of dark on this one, but nevertheless, it was a good story to read. My only issue with when it comes to these Secret War Journal books is that the stories are short but they're really good, and it's just like I kind of would like more of these types of stories, but they weren't meant for that. They were meant for like small stories that you can enjoy. But I thought this is definitely worth the read, and it's like, it may not be worth the $3.99 for a lot of people, but it is definitely, if you have the extra money, pick it up. So I gotta give this one probably 3.25 out of stars at least. Really good book this week. Did you read this one, Nick?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think?
And you mentioned about Peter turning to the Hulk in Web of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
His own decides here and there. He also did it in the miniseries Bullet Points.
Oh, okay.
Except he turned into a Gray Hulk.
Oh, okay.
I was a bit surprised to see Samson in the book, especially since in the 616 version he's dead.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but it's like they draw people from, I guess, other universes or timelines or whatever the case may be. So I know it's kind of like when it comes to the rules of Secret Wars, everything is thrown out the window. So
Yep.
It was cool to see him though. It really was. I liked seeing him in there, and when he became a Hulk too, I thought that was pretty neat too. At the end of that issue.
Yeah. Especially since when he died, he got reduced to a skeleton.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. You think he'll come back though?
And
you think he'll come back in the new Hulk book?
He probably could. He's the right size to be a new Hulk. I don't know. Depends upon what Greg Pak tends to do. I mean, Greg Pak actually is a good Hulk writer. I mean, he's written some of the best Hulk stories that the Hulk has had since Peter David's run.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what my theory is from what I heard? My theory was that the new Hulk is, and I heard this from a different couple places, Amadeus Cho.
I would not be surprised.
Because if you read
Bruce Banner, he's a genius.
Yeah, and if you read do you remember the end of the Planet Hulk, the first issue? He was in there. He was in that book, and he was exposed to all the gamma radiation. So he could be very well the new Hulk. Very similar character.
As for the second story, this is not the first time an alternate version of Tony Stark has been killed off. I think he's been killed off in like every other alternate reality except for 6.
It was a cool story though. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a neat story.
As for the Poncho as a detective, well, that's not an original concept for him because the Ultimate Universe version was NYPD.
Oh, was it?
From the Ultimate Universe. Yeah, and I was surprised to see him in Ultimate End when he showed up there, since he's supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
He got killed off during Cataclysm.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of stuff that's going on, but at the same time, it's kind of like when it comes to this, you got to sit there and say, all right, I'm going into it with like open eyes. I can't go back into continuity. Everything's been thrown out the window at this time. That's just the way I look at it when it comes to all this.
That's first part of me, Wolverine. That's not a bad idea for them to do a team up together, especially in alternate continuity. And they've worked together before, so why not put them as detectives? So it's a neat idea. I wouldn't mind seeing this expand into like a mini series if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think it would be good. Okay.
But so I would not bring back the artist.
No. Yeah, I would like to see different artwork on that book too. Definitely. All right, so you ready to talk about number 13?
Yep.
All right, number 13.
Unlucky number.
Number 13 for me was, and I really liked the first issue of this, but now I felt like it's getting like over political for me. And this was Years of Future Past, issue number 2. This is the book, if you remember, that has to deal with Kitty Pryde's daughter and Wolverine's son. And they're being brought up in this world where the mutant population is very limited, and they're forced to escape and try to live on. And You would think that these two mutant kids are going to end up together and have babies and try to repopulate the world. But I just felt that this book wound up getting really political. I think the artwork is still solid. I enjoyed it. I like seeing what was going on in here. You find out that Storm is powering the Sentinels in this issue because there's very limited electricity, very limited resources in here. And you see her powering them. And the one thing that I didn't kind of agree on in this part of it was her, she gets rescued. And then what happens, she's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yes." And it's like, I'm going to fight and do battle right away within like 30 seconds after how long has she been doing battle, with powering these Sentinels. I just thought it was kind of awkward and weird. And I don't know. It just got really political for me. Then the new Sentinels wound up becoming like these Doom Sentinels. There was like a lot of dialogue here at, Colossus being the wise man or the good father that he is. And I don't know. I just thought this one it just bogged me down a lot with what was going on in this issue. And I thought it was okay. It didn't blow me out of the water like the first one did. The first one was really well done. It was pretty wild though to see some Doom Sentinels though at the end of this issue. So, after reading this one, I give this one probably about 3.5 out of 5 stars. This one was okay. So, what'd you think of this one, Nick? Did you think this one was too much dialogue, or did it get too involved into itself? What do you think about this one? I mean, I think Nick froze up here. So yeah, that's what happened. His screen is frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. What'd you think about this one?
I thought it was an okay issue. I didn't like that one page you showed where Colossus, when he's talking to Kitty Pryde's daughter, and good God, how much dialogue he fit on one page.
Whoa. Yeah, it was like giving me a lecture while I was reading. I'm like, I don't want a lecture while I'm reading. I want, it was just too much. I get what they were trying to go for, but it was just too much for the reader, I think. And plus all the other stuff that was going on.
Last time I saw dialogue put together like that was Avengers vs. X #1. When Colossus and Cyclops and Captain America are talking, and it's the same format of dialogue that they use, not the same words, but the same style of how they do the dialogue.
Right.
It just takes a while to read that.
Yeah.
I really wish they would not do that.
No, I agree. I mean, every comic is different. Obviously, every writer writes something different, but at the same time, it's just like you have a very lengthy dialogue type of book. And don't get me wrong, I like a good story that has good dialogue. That's how a lot of comics were back in the day. But then at the same time, like, you need to have a good balance in there. And for me, this issue, it didn't have that balance like the last one did. It had a good mix of action and story. And this one, it was just like blah, 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 and it just kept on going. And it wouldn't stop. It's just like, oh my God, please end, So, and then it ends with a whole bunch of Doom Sentinels. And I'm like, okay, all right, that's all right, I guess. So for me, it didn't
accomplish. I'll be back in a couple minutes, Mike. I'll be back in a couple minutes, Mike.
Okay, all right, that's cool. All right, so that was the number, let's see, 16, 15, 14. That was the number 13 book for this week. And I'm going to see if I do have any more comments right now before we go into it. All right, so we have another comment in here. And let's see. Hassan has said, the problem with Green Arrow comics, because they've always changed writers, while the problem with Spider-Man comics, at least for me, is Dan Slott, right? Peter Parker for too long time to change writer. What do you think? I agree with you. When you have too much writing change, I think it becomes an issue. There can never be consistent. There's never consistency on a book when you have too many writers. And when you have a writer that's been on the book too long, tends to get stale. And that's how I feel about that. Like Dan Slott on Spider-Man, it becomes too much. and I don't think he can tell a story that's different for a very long time. So I think for a writer, I think if you stay on a book for 2 years, 3 years, I think that's good. I think that's solid run. I think because you can accomplish something there. When you stay on the book for a month, 2 months, like what are you accomplishing? Nothing, or if or if you're on there, let's say 3 months or 4 months or half a year. So you do a story arc. I don't think that's enough to really get established and get a feel of the character while you're writing it. I think you need to be there, a year to settle in and then stay there a couple years, 2 years, 3 years. Depends how many issues are released in a month. So, but yeah, I agree. I think Dan Slott I think it's time for him to kind of depart and make his way somewhere else. Give someone else a chance. So, all right. So going forward, we're going to go on to number 12 this week. And the number 12 book this week for me was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 47. Good issue. I just started picking up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again. I thought this was a fun read. The artwork is definitely really well done in this book. I love the detail that goes into the characters in this book. There, the big guy you get to see, it's Casey Jones' father in this book. He's drinking like Jack Daniels, what they call it, Zach Daniels, which I thought is pretty cool. But you get to see some awesome stuff on here. Just great fight scenes with Casey and his father's like bunch of cronies that are fighting in here. There's good dialogue in the issue when it comes to the family members. Good paneling in here too when it comes to the fight scenes. I thought that was very enjoyable in here too. And you're still dealing with the situation with Donatello being in a metalhead, so he's in a robot form body, which I think is a good challenge for the team because they have to learn to protect Donatello's body until his body heals good enough so his subconscious mind can go back into his own body. You'll find out in this issue that the Shredder is back, which is good. He's not dead, and his granddaughter is just surprised that he's alive. But she has some tough realizations of what's going on in the issue of who to trust, and and her grandfather sits there and says, it's about revenge, and I kind of really love that. And Baxter Stockman's still involved, and they create these they create more of the Mousers. They're flying through the city, and then there's the fly guys, the fly Mousers or whatever you want to call them. But it just ends with the turtles attacking them, and so it was really well done, a really well done issue. My only problem with it took a long time to get to where it needed to. So I felt like it was almost, in a way, it accomplished things by letting everybody know, okay, yeah, the Shredder's alive. The next storyline's going forward, but it just took a while to get there. And I think they spent too much time with the whole Casey Jones thing and, the whole April O'Neil thing and with the father and whatnot. So, but it was a good issue. It was a great read. And I like the direction that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is going. And I really enjoy that challenge again with the whole Donatello thing. I thought that was pretty neat. So, what do you think? Are you reading Turtles, Nick?
Yes, I am. For this issue, it was a bit of a surprise that the issue focused a lot more on Shredder than it did the Turtles.
Yeah, I expected more Turtles in this too, and they were already in the book.
Did you notice that one panel looked like it was pulled from the cover of the Villains micro series, one with Shredder on the cover?
I did not notice that. Yeah, I did not notice. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, but because I didn't read the micro series, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do that because I definitely have seen stuff like that before.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I tend to wonder though, one thing I'm hoping that they don't do is, because 50 is coming up really soon, is I'm hoping they'll end the series at 50. That'll be a dumb move on the part of IDW and, of course, Kevin Eastman to do, because you still got Turtles fans stretching as far back as we're getting, want to see a series continue. They don't want to see a series end at issue 50.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. Is there a definitive ending for this?
I have no idea, but 50 seems like a good issue, not for Teenage Turtles. Teenage Turtles is a series you can see the series lasting for a very good period of time, more than just a few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even back in the day, it went on for quite a long time. And I can't see it. If they were smart, they wouldn't end it, because there's
Yeah.
so much fan base for the Turtles these days, and it goes for generations. I mean, it
Mhm.
goes from really, it starts from my generation, because when I was, I'm 40 years old. So when I was a kid, that's when the Turtles popped onto the scene. They came out with the black and white comics, the original ones from Mirage Studios. And I was there for issue 1 and 2 and like all those original books. And I was a kid at the time, and I could not buy them. And how I wish I could buy those original ones, but you could not find the printings of them whatsoever. That's what makes them so much money today. Is those original issues. I think the earliest issue I have is in issue 5. I have a first print of that, and I have a second printing of that issue. So
I've had a chance to read those issues, Mike. I've only read the issues in the Color Classics, which I got a chance to read some of those, only from the last couple of volumes of it, and the first trade for the Ultimate Collection, where it collects like the first 7 issues.
Yeah.
And the one thing I noticed about that that version of Shredder and the one with depicted, that Shredder was treated like a joke, and rest of the time he's treated a lot more seriously, and he's more of a threat in other continuities except for the original Mirage continuity.
Yeah. Well, he was like killed so much, like right away he was killed. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, Shredder dead. And I think the thing is that one of the things when it comes to the Turtles, they weren't expected to be that popular. They never expected it whatsoever. And it's just like they had to come up with different things. And I really don't think they were expecting it, honestly,
I
whatsoever.
noticed though when you got those Mirage comics, and you notice how the turtles' faces are drawn so weirdly. Even back then, it probably looks weirdly than it does now,
Right.
because it got that little like a snout type of thing for the turtles,
Yeah.
which I thought was odd when I saw that.
To me though, like that's the way I like them. I like them that way, with that weird snout. First they started with the snout, and then it kind of came in a little bit more. But I was just like, I was okay with it. I was like, dude, these are turtles with nunchucks and swords. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. I'm like, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like this. Like that was my first. That was my first independent comic that I ever read. Was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I don't know if you ever heard of a series from Dark Horse called Boris the Bear. Those were the first couple ones
Yeah.
that I
Did
ever
you
read.
notice when you watched it looked like they were pulling like when you watched the first movie, it looked like they were adapting like the first like 10 issues, just taking elements from the first 10 issues, including the Donatello one shot, and put it in the movie. Like when the scene where Michael, I think it's Raphael, gets dropped to the skylight, even though
Yeah,
that's in the comic, that's supposed to be Donatello.
yeah, 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 yeah. I definitely. Turtles is a great thing, and hopefully it won't go away. And I don't think so. I think it's very popular now, and it's popular for the kids. It's on Nickelodeon, and I think it will
Mhm.
go. It'll be strong going forward. So, but we'll move on to our next comic now. So, 16,
Okay.
15, 14, 13, 12. So we're on number 11. And number 11, and I like this book a lot, but again, there was a lot of other books this week. And number 11 this week was Superman Action Comics, issue number 42. Um, Here in this book, we wind up seeing Superman just basically going against the police in here. In the beginning, he was doing battle against like the demon creatures or whatnot, whatever they were, the shadow monsters, whatever they were. And I thought that took up a lot of the issue. And I was just like, okay, how long are we going to see Superman battle this creature? Like, I could care less about this part. I know he doesn't have his powers. He's not as strong. The part that really got me into this book was when you're getting towards the middle and towards the end, when you wind up seeing the people rioting, and they're sitting down and they're trying not to get involved with the police and whatnot. Cool artwork here with the reflection off of the officers' sunglasses there. I thought that was pretty neat. And I love them trying to fight off the police. No matter what they did, the police was like attacking them. And it was cool to see Superman stand ground to protect his people, or the people from this town. And no matter what was happening, this cop was doing everything that he could to piss off Superman. And Superman just took a beating after beating after beating. And then finally, it's just like, boom, he jacks the guy in the face. And then what happens now is what happens? He's going to get arrested. I'm sure that's what's going to happen here. But I think that's what the cop actually wanted in the end, because he wanted Superman to get angry. I liked it. I liked the book from the middle part to the end part, because it's just, I don't know, it's a realization story. And ever since Superman lost his actual powers, I feel that this has been a more relatable story for a lot of people. So I enjoyed this one. So issue 42 was pretty good on my list. So what'd you think of this one?
It was actually pretty good. Good artwork, good writing by Greg Pak. But the question I think anybody tends to wonder, though, where the heck did Superman get the anchor and chain? Like, it's never shown exactly where he gets that from.
Right.
And the cover kind of spoils what happens in the comic. The whole thing with him holding the chain up like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, because he's definitely doing that in the actual issue. So it's exactly what it does. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and you notice that Jimmy Olsen's the only longtime supporting character of Superman is actually in this comic now. There's no Lois, no Perry, no Lex, just Jimmy.
Yeah,
just Jimmy's there. I think it's one of 2 books he's in. He's also playing in Superman as well. Right.
They're so focused right now on doing the actual powers thing, that I think they're forgetting about some of their supporting cast. So, but nevertheless, it's been interesting. I mean, it's been interesting to see how he deals with this situation.
Mm-hmm. And it was nice. That was a good ending for a comic book, having that guy get punched by Superman like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But now
the cop was a dick.
Oh yeah, he absolutely was. But now he's going to go to jail though for it. He's going to go for assault. That's exactly what he's going to go. Or punching a police officer or something like that. There's an excuse now to put him behind bars.
I would think that the cop himself will probably get arrested for attempting using tear gas against a bunch of unarmed civilians. He'll probably get arrested too.
Yeah, that's true. It will be interesting to see where this goes. We'll definitely be interested to see. All right, so
and I think I should. I know you read Superman Wonder Woman last week. I'm sure that everybody was scratching their head like, what the heck was the Suicide Squad doing in the comic book? I think they were there to promote their own comic book.
Yeah, I couldn't. That was crazy. That was crazy. That just pissed me off. I have a comment from Michael Martin. He says, I saw similar dialogue in a Cable and Deadpool Volume 4. Every book in that trade starts with a page just like that. Cable and Deadpool go on and on. Iron Fist and Luke Cage have an entire page just like that as well. And Bad Girls. So they're talking about that dialogue page from Futures, from the Years of Future Past issue. That's what they were talking about.
I believe it. I've read that series. It's typical what you think from both those 2 characters. And as for that scene, not unusual.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to go forward now. We'll go on to the next book, and next book is, I think, number 10. So now we're in our top 10 now, right? So top 10, and we'll try to move a little bit quicker since I do have to go back to work. I can't believe it's already 2:50. So the next thing is Green Lantern issue number 41 or 42. I should have 42 on there, and I grabbed 41. Wrong issue. 42. Yeah, there we go. So this is like the Medusa effect. So in the last issue, we wind up seeing this version of Hal Jordan, who he has the who was it? It's Krona's gauntlet, right? That's who it is. That's his gauntlet, and he captures it. He takes it with him. It all goes back based off of, you know, towards we took that break from Convergence, and now he's on his own. And it looks like it's been some time. He's growing his hair out. He wears his trench coat. He's got this hoodie on. He's very mysterious. He works for himself. And he takes this guy in. His name is like Trapper. And he has his own ship now. And he's got to deliver him back to, I guess he takes him in custody. And then he's got to bring this guy here. I forgot that guy's name. But he's got to bring that guy there. And he's got to bring him back to his home planet. And when you get to the planet, you wind up seeing that the planet's all white. And you're like, well, what the hell's going on in there? So as the issue progresses, you wind up finding out that everyone turns to stone in the issue. And you're just like, well, what's going on? And anything that touches like even a little pebble of this stone, you will turn to stone. So it's like crazy. And when Trapper's cronies come over and they try to rescue him, there's this whole battle that goes on between Hal Jordan and everybody else, and you wind up seeing that Hal prevails in the battle, but he does have a tough time trying to control this gauntlet. So if he's not in complete control of this gauntlet could kind of go apeshit and do some serious damage. But this was really cool artwork in here by Tan. I thought this was nice. And I thought this was a pretty good story because it's kind of just, you know, gets you on the edge of your seat going, well, what's going on here? Because you wind up seeing these rocks turn into stone. It touches another spaceship and the spaceship turns to stone. All the people turn to stone. And you're just like, oh, damn, what's going to happen? And Hal's just in awe. The rich guy, he's sitting there going, oh, my God, my race is entirely dead. And yeah, so, I mean, I thought this was really cool. And then at the end of it, though, look who you wind up seeing at the end of this book. You wind up seeing Handon there. So it's just like, and he's just like, everywhere I go, he's like, why can't I make them rise? So what's he doing there? Like, do you have any thoughts on this, Nick?
Yeah, I tend to wonder that too. Like, also, where the heck has Black Hand been since Godhead? This is the first time anybody's seen him since Godhead.
Yeah, he's been gone a long time, and so it's kind of just like I think they wanted to get rid of him and not make him in every single Green Lantern story. I think it's Venteti's thing of trying to separate himself a little bit from Jeff Johns. So I think that's why he kind of just got rid of him for a while. But he's very crucial in Green Lantern's world. So it's like you got to bring him back eventually, you know, because that's been a long time since we haven't seen him.
Yeah, and I saw a promo that he was supposed to join the Suicide Squad, but I haven't seen him in Suicide Squad. Maybe it's going to join after this current arc is finished.
What do you think of?
You see that promo they had like?
No, I didn't see that promo. No, I didn't.
Yeah, it was an old promo. It was basically him, Parasite, Reverse Flash, one of the Talons, Poison Ivy, Cheetah. It was a promotional image for like post-Convergence, Suicide Squad. But it looks like the same Suicide Squad, just the same lineup that they had just before Convergence.
Interesting.
I don't think there's any additions added at all, except they dropped the Man-Bats.
Nice. What do you think of Green Lantern's new costume? What do you think of Hal Jordan this way?
It's an interesting idea. For one thing, when was the last time anybody ever saw him with a new costume?
He's never changed.
I think the first time they ever changed his attire was the start of New 52. Because you were seeing like on the shoulders, he had like these marks on his shoulders, and they gave him the collar.
Yeah. Yep. But he
was the only one with the Green Lantern. He was the only one the Green Lanterns actually got a change, because if you look at the rest of the Corps, their uniforms are exactly the same.
Yeah.
No change.
Yep. No change. It's true.
So I think Gardner's changed once, because he did have a different outfit before. I've seen pictures of him basically with his original attire, which is like Hal Jordan's, but his current attire is basically his attitude.
Right. Yeah, his attitude changes all the time. I like it. I think it's different. Obviously, do you think it'll stay? I don't think so. I think he'll eventually go back to the way he was. But I think it's a change from the character. It's kind of a thing that he's going through right now. And I find it interesting. I didn't think it's a bad idea. I think, in certain characters, you got to change them every once in a while. And that seems to be the trend in today's comic books, is characters, a lot of them are changing, getting away from the traditional characters that we've seen, because I guess like every character's got to evolve, every character's got to change. And that's the only way, I guess, to create new stories at the same time. Eventually you run out of stories to tell if everybody stays the same exactly anyway, Wouldn't you agree?
And where is Hector Hammond in all this? Because I think last time anybody saw him was the page of Superman.
Yeah, he's been gone.
Which was odd that he was even there in the first place.
He was.
I think anybody who saw him in Superman thinking, Hector Hammond is a Green Lantern, he's doing in Superman.
He was in Batman Superman when they were trying to find out information from him. That was the last time I saw him in one of the Batman Superman issues. Yeah.
I think the last time we showed up a Green Lantern was in the previous volume when Jeff Johns was writing it. The one that ended issue 67.
Yeah.
I think that was the last time anybody saw him in Green Lantern.
Right. I don't know. We'll see. It's a new direction, so we'll see. All right. So let's go forward. So we'll move on now to, I guess, number 9. I think that's what we're on now. All right, so number 9 is the Amazing Spider-Man, issue 19.1. This kind of continues the whole situation with Mr. Negative influencing Captain Wannabe, and she doesn't get kicked off the force, but her reputation is now basically on the line, and now it's made her more of a true vigilante than a hero in this case, after the results of what happened into this issue. I like this series because it has to do with like the underground scene of these characters that we have, that we haven't seen in a very long time, like Mr. Negative. We get to the ringmaster in here with his circus of crime. It was an interesting book, and I like the character developments in here. The only thing now that I feel like there's a problem with this series is that it seems it's starting to get repetitious. It's like wherever the Wrath is, oh, there's Spider-Man, oh, who are we going to fight this time? It's like kind of like the villain of the week type of thing. So it's getting very repetitious. I mean, I do like seeing the characters in here, the way they look, the drawings are very nice. But again, it's getting repetitious for me. And, again, by the time you got to the end of this issue, you wind up seeing that, I guess, Wraith is being blamed for what's going on at the end of the issue. So, but it's a good read. I think Conaway's doing a solid job on this. I think this is a type of story maybe that should have just ended here, right here and now, at this issue. It didn't need to go any further than this one. So what do you think of Amazing Spider-Man number 19.1 here?
One thing is better than Dan Slott's books that he's writing lately. Another thing, when did the Circus of Crime come back together? Because I read in Howard the Duck that they disbanded because of like animal rights issues and a bunch of other stuff. When the heck they come back together?
I guess it's a you have to find out for yourself thing. It's who knows? I don't get it.
And where did this new chief come from? Because last time I saw any police chief in Spider-Man was Precinct. The black bald guy?
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Where is he?
Well, this whole story is kind of, I mean, this whole story is kind of like, just like, it's almost like it should have been just a separate story. It should not been an Amazing Spider-Man story. It should just been like,
Yeah.
I don't know, Web of Spider-Man Returns issue 1, or, you know, whatever, you know, Conway wrote back in the day. He wrote a lot of Spider-Man books, a lot of Web of Spider-Man books. So it'd be cool to see like Web of Spider-Man Returns issue 1 or whatever it was, instead of making this an Amazing Spider-Man series.
Yeah, but he is writing a series coming up soon.
Carnage.
Do you remember that from? Yeah, not a bad idea since he is a Spider-Man related character. At least he's sticky with Spider-Man in a way, even though he's not writing Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I give it. I think he'll do a good job with it. I like him as a writer. I've written a lot of stuff. I've seen him write a lot of stuff, and I've read all that stuff, and it's just like, it's good. I think it's fun, you know. It's just here. I just don't think it needs to go on as long as it does. I don't find it necessary, and it should have just been released maybe in a trade. I think that would have been a great way to do this type of story. So,
do you know what famous character that Gary Conway created?
Who is that?
Of all the characters, the Punisher.
He did create the Punisher?
Amazing Spider-Man 129, him and Gail Kane.
Wow, I actually didn't even notice that. You know, because that's one of the Spider-Man issues I don't own. I don't own that issue. I want that issue, but I never even realized who wrote it at the time or came up with the character. So it's such an iconic cover.
Well, the cover himself, that's actually been homaged with, I think it was like the first issue of Rick Remender's run for Punisher, the one that was published like at the start of Dark Reign. Mm-hmm. The very first issue was a homage to that very comic. And there's like various variant covers of that, like one where he's shooting, he has a bullseye on the Sentry, another one he has a bullseye on Norman Osborn.
That's awesome. All right. So what I'm going to do is I got to go to a couple comments, and then we'll move on to the next book. Let me see. Justin Pageant, he says, late but here. What's up, everybody? The Spire was good this week from Boom Studios. And then Mick Gangbang. The guy has like literally a hamburger from McDonald's on there. He goes, hey, I just bought Amazing Spider-Man number 98. He goes, what can you tell me about it? Amazing Spider-Man issue number 98. I don't know.
That is a famous comic book right there.
Which one is that?
It's a famous comic book. That is the one where they bring back the Green Goblin, and that's also one of the 3 issues that did not have the Comic Code Seal of Authority. It's a famous story of how the health department asked Stan Lee to write a story about drugs. The Comic Code Authority denied approval, but the comic got released anyways. And the comic said that the Comic Code Authority update their policies.
Oh, is that the one when Harry is like on drugs and stuff like that at that point?
Yes.
Yeah, I did hear about that book. So that's pretty interesting. Let's see if I got anything else. Michael Martin also said, I love detective stories. Makes me want to read Punisher and Wolverine in an old true crime story. All right, so we're going to go on now. I think we're at number 8. Number 8 goes to Darth Vader, issue number 7. Star Wars has been hitting it out of the park. And when it comes to Darth Vader, I think this series is solid. Not as good as the Star Wars ongoing book, but I think it's very well written. And I was a little bit weary of it when Kieran Gillen was actually writing this book. But I think he's done a nice job with this. And we find out that his little buddy, I think her name is, what is it, Afra or something like that, is it's awesome. It's like she's a traitor. She's like working secretly against Darth Vader. You think she's all buddy with him, and she's finding out all the information, and he has trust in her. She's created robots for her, and then at the end of the issue, you wind up finding out that she's one of the top bounty hunters, which I thought was really awesome. The beginning of the issue, though, it took time for this to actually develop, but you wind up getting to see, I forgot the race's name from Star Wars. He's like a Greedo. Do you remember his name, Nick? The type of race that they are?
I've never come across a name for the species.
I know what it is.
I think all he is just basically a Greedo clone, except he doesn't like get killed easily by Han Solo.
Yeah, he is. They're like a Rhodian or something like that. There's something their name is, but he's like a crime lord boss in this particular issue, and Darth Vader has to go out, and he goes to his base, and he winds up defeating this guy. Obviously, the Imperials intrude it. It's in the outer rim of where it takes place. This is awesome artwork, though. Really well done. And it's they intrude the outer rim. He winds up prevailing, and he winds up getting all the money. And he winds up. This is the point in time of where Darth Vader gives the power to the Hutts of the outer rim. And he just says, don't betray me or you're going to be sorry. And so what happens then at the end of this issue is, again, you wind up seeing all these bounty hunters. They come together, and it's cool because you wind up getting to see Bossick, who's like the reptilian type of bounty hunter. And then you get to see the robot one, which is, I don't know, 488 or whatever his name is. And then you wind up seeing the Wookiee bounty hunter. He winds up being in there as well. And then, like I said, at the end of this issue, you wind up seeing that it's a female, and she's wind up relaying all this information about Darth Vader. And then again, she's the one working with Darth Vader. And I was just like, damn, I totally did not expect this whatsoever at the end of it. I just thought she was just along for the ride with Darth Vader, being the little sidekick that she is, and she's totally playing him the whole time. I'm surprised he doesn't pick up on this, but it really had a good shock moment in there. And I was just like, oh, wow, this really kind of ups the ante for Darth Vader this month. So I definitely wasn't expecting it there. This was a really solid book. For me, it was a 4-star book. What'd you think, Nick, on this one? Did you hear me, Nick?
No, the thing kept cutting in and out. But if you want my opinion on Darth Vader number 7.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your opinion on this?
It was a good comic book. That robot, that's IG-88.
IG-88, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was odd, though, that his outer covering is red. Because pictures I've seen him, he's supposed to be black.
He's black and silver. I don't know if... Do you think that was maybe just a coloring issue, or just the way the book was? Maybe
I think it might be a coloring issue.
Yeah,
it might be.
Because at first I thought it was the actual when he comes in the door, I thought that was just the lighting. But then when you look on the panel below, he's completely red, and he is a solid gray or silver-like robot. That's the way he is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I know that is because you ever seen the cover for the book Tales of the Bounty Hunters?
I did not. No, I have not read it. No.
Well, I think it's on that book or another bound picture of him in his actual color. That's how he traditionally looks. The best thing about this issue was Vader going to the moisture farm.
Yes.
For the first time since episode 2.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
I think for him it's been a long time. Must have been about over 20 years.
Yeah. The cool thing about this series is like really getting into Darth Vader's head, or if you want to say Anakin's head, it's like you always, when he's wearing that suit, it's kind of like you always think of him as the evil Darth Vader, and you forget that he's Anakin Skywalker inside, and you forget that the actual, like, what he's thinking and his emotions and what he's going through, like the struggle that he battles between good and evil. He still has that struggle, I feel, especially in this series.
Yeah, at least we actually get a chance to see what the moisture farm looks like in a canon possibility, because It's been depicted. Sometimes goes back to the moisture farm, but this is the first time I've seen where Vader goes to the moisture farm, and I don't know if he knows this, but there was actually graves of Luke's aunt and uncle. They showed that in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Since they never showed it in episode 4.
Yep.
And I'm wondering though, I think a lot of Star Wars fans are wondering though, what happened at that farm that caused their deaths? Still to this day, it's probably one of the biggest puzzling questions from episode 4.
Yeah. I know. Like, what exactly happened there? You know?
Yeah, and this is odd. After her death, all their droids shut down? Did Luke did that, or did the stormtroopers do that? Because they were already shut down when Vader showed up.
Yeah, it had to be them, I guess. It had to be the stormtroopers or whatever. I think it had to be. So I don't know.
Probably.
But it was a good issue. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to more of Star Wars. So definitely Darth Vader.
At least this artist does his homework when it comes to Darth Vader.
What's that?
At least this artist has done his homework when it comes to drawing Darth Vader.
Absolutely. It's really well done. All right. So now we'll go on to I think we're on number 6.
Mm-hmm.
7. So 7 goes to Little Avengers versus the, I guess, X-Men. This book was hysterical, man. This book made me laugh out loud. This is just one of those books, if you're looking to have a good laugh, you got to read it. It's just awesome. Cyclops, Captain America, beginning of the book, they wind up picking teams, and they wind up playing dodgeball against each other. After they pick teams, though, the funny thing is it winds up always being the Avenger team and the X-Men team, and they go and they face each other, which is hysterical. They just get, Cyclops gets punched in the face. And the funny thing about this book is, like, after they're done with school, they like go home and you get to see like their houses and their environments and stuff. Check out this page. This Scotty Young page is gorgeous. I thought this was beautifully done. Just a great issue here, and them just interacting with each other in school was really good. You get to see 2 new characters in here. I think the kid's name was Zachary and Joe, and they ask all kinds of questions. Cyclops goes, "Are you 2 mutants?" And the kids are like, "No." And then Spider-Man's like, "Were any of you bitten by an insect or a kind of animal?" "No." Black Bolt just sits there and he just, looks at them, doesn't say anything. But the coolest thing in here was like Arcade. Arcade sits there and he goes, "Do you like to play video games?" And the kid is like, "Yeah." And then Arcade's like, "Cool, you're invited to my house after school to play my own indie game, Murder World." He's like, "Interested?" And he gives him that crazy that grin there. So the dialogue in this book was so well done, and they're basically fighting over these kids' companionship or friendship, and you wind up seeing just their bases are tree houses, and they wind up fighting over each other, and there's like these big explosions and just all kinds of crazy stuff that's going on in this issue. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so funny. I had such a fun time with this book. And they're taking bets who's going to survive and who's going to die, and it was just really, really well done. I really thought it was a fun issue. What'd you think of this, Nick? Did you have as much fun with it?
Yeah, it was a fun comic book. Enjoyed the artwork, but I think this book will be targeted not at someone our age. It's more like maybe like a little kids type of book.
Sure,
but it's still a good read.
Yeah, exactly. I find it definitely an entertaining read. It's one of those, things that I felt for me, like there's so many serious books out there, and you pick up this one and it just makes you laugh and it has fun. You have fun with it. And I think that kind of freshens things up a little bit here. So, all right, so we'll go on to book. Yeah, go ahead.
The last book Scott Young did, as far as I know, was Rocket Raccoon. He did this just before he did this miniseries.
Yes, Rocket Raccoon, yep. I read a couple issues with it, and I was kind of like, I wasn't a fan of it. It got old for me kind of quickly. All right, so
It
here,
ended oddly. The final issue, I read all 11 issues.
yeah.
It ended very oddly too, where Rocket Raccoon's in a prison.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, so we got the comment from Michael Martin. He says Greedo is a Rhodian bounty hunter. So I was right on the name. It just took me some time to figure it out. And then Stacy Gallagher says, "Are you looking forward to Batman and Superman next year? DC are doing some great books at the present. I've heard DC is doing some good stuff. I can honestly say that I am looking forward to Batman, Superman. It's still a year though. It's still so far away, and I just have to. It's got to get closer for me to get excited for it. So, but that's
I'm
it for right.
interested in seeing
Yeah, I
when
am.
it
I'm
comes
definitely.
out.
Who's not going to see that? Everyone in the world's going to see that movie. So, and it just depends if it's going to be an adequate movie or not. So, all right. So
Yeah,
we're
I don't
gonna.
know if you know this, but apparently not only Warner Brothers is hoping this movie does well, Marvel is hoping the same thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I think it's good that these movies do good though, because it'll just keep the
Yeah.
superhero genre growing. You know.
Yep.
All right. So now we go on to number 6. I got about 15 minutes left before I gotta leave. Let's see how we can accomplish this. All right. So number 6 this week for me was Chew, issue number 50. We have only 10 more issues until Chew is over. If you guys have not read Chew, I'm definitely suggesting it to you. This is one of these books that I can't really explain. You have to. It's always hard for me to review Chew because it's one of these books that you really have to dive in. But in a nutshell, Agent Chew is this character that is called a chibiopath, and he can basically take a chunk out of something and he can eat. He'll eat it and he can find out where it came from. So he's an FDA detective and he's been solving cases. And the man that he does battle against in this issue is the Collector. And it's taking a very long time to get to this point. But finally, Agent Chew and the Collector do battle in this actual issue, and it is one epic scene on this battle of what happens. And this Collector, he can collect any type of food. He can eat anything. He can eat anybody that has some other type of chibiopath power and absorb it, and it makes them all powerful. But in this issue, you wind up seeing the outcome of what happens here to the Collector. There's great dialogue in this issue. It's a funny series. Look at this artwork. This is great. John Layman is the writer of this book. And it is a wonderful book up until this point so far. And it's not done yet. Even though the main villain has been killed, there's something else that's going to happen in these last 10 issues. So I definitely suggest, if you guys have not read Chew, it is definitely there for an original story, and it's filled with Easter eggs. So definitely check it out. So I'm giving this one a 4.25 out of 5 stars. Really good book here. Do you read Chew, Nick, or no?
No, I haven't had a chance to read stuff written by John Layman.
Yeah,
I read this stuff for Cyclops and Detective Comics.
Gotcha. Yeah, Detective Comics he's done recently. Yeah, I always say go out there, check it out. I think you would really enjoy it. They come in small trades and story arcs. So their story arcs are always like 4 or 5 issues. So you could just get a trade by trade by trade. And I think that will probably be a better way to read it. And I'm telling you, dude, you would love this book. I think it's a great series. So definitely something to check out. It's fun. Once you start reading it, you're kind of going like, oh, this is funny. This is good. And the character development in here is really well done. And the way Agent Chew is, he's a totally different and much darker character than he is from the very beginning of this series. So definitely check it out if you have time, Nick.
Do you think this is like currently one of Image's like longest running comic books behind Savage Dragon and Spawn?
Well, besides Walking Dead, Yes, one of their more successful books. Yeah, Layman always said that this was there's a definitive ending to this. He said from very
Yeah,
first issue that issue 60 was going to be his ending. So, and
yeah.
that's what would happen there. So,
Because Image has had trouble over the years, ever since they began, with the exception of the 4 comics you named and this book. A lot of their comics don't usually last more than maybe a couple years.
yeah, exactly. So it's very hard to find good, long-lasting books, and this is one of them. It just has an ending. He always planned on having an ending for it, not because of lack of sales. It's just that was his. He has a story to tell. He's going to take as many issues as he can, and that's that. So, all
Yep.
right. So now we're going to go on to number 5. We'll have to hurry these up. So number 5 is for me was We Stand on Guard, issue number 5. This is an interesting story of seeing the United States attack on Canada here. And Brian K. Vaughan was the writer of this issue, and very graphic artwork in the very beginning, very apocalyptic like setting. And then once you see the war that kind of ends in this issue, you wind up seeing the main character in here. I'm trying to remember her name offhand, and I can't remember it. Amber. She winds up becoming the main character, and she winds up joining this group of freedom fighters. And this is the way she looks here right now. This was a good story, had good character development here. Didn't bog you down with the politics of the war, really, of why the war really happened. And I'm sure you'll find out as time goes on. But all you find out in here is the United States has these big mech-like robots, and they kind of look like this. And you're just like, oh, damn, that's freaking crazy. And there's good dialogue in here between this guy and Amber talking about Superman, how he's talking about Superman, where he came from Canada and whatnot. Just some funny stuff in here. It was really, really good. If you're a fan of Brian K. Vaughan, who obviously writes Saga right now and did Y, The Last Man, I think you're probably going to like this issue. And I think the story will definitely reveal itself as it goes on. This is a cool artwork page on here too. So it's a really, really good book. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a standout for the independents this week. Did you get a chance to read this one, Nick?
Yes, I did. The walkers look like something out of Star Wars.
Yeah, it did. It kind of did. Yep, absolutely.
And there is one other series that Brian K. Vaughan has written. He did briefly write Swamp Thing back in 2000.
Oh, did he? Oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it only lasted for like about 20 issues, and DC recently collected that entire volume in 2 trades.
Oh, wow.
So you can find his run pretty simply. And it doesn't focus on Alec Holland. It focuses on his daughter, Tiffy Holland, who is a lesbian.
Oh, nice.
Which are the focus of the series. And how she was conceived is very weird.
Huh.
It's told in like Swamp Thing 76 and 77. This is after Alan Moore left. Apparently, Swamp Thing possessed John Constantine to bang his wife.
Oh, wow.
Just so that they can have a child together. And Tiffy is a human-plant hybrid.
Interesting. Quite interesting.
You actually can find those 2 issues in the first Hellblazer trade.
Oh, really?
They actually are re-releasing the Hellblazer trades, and that first trade does have those 2 issues.
Oh, wow. That's quite interesting. I definitely will have to check that out.
Yeah, it's up to like book 10 right now, the new Hellblazer trades.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to push forward a little bit because, again, I'm running out of time. So I'm going to go on to number 4. And, again, I had fun with this book, too. This is another Secret Wars book, and this one was Futures Imperfect, issue number 2. This was kind of weird because in this issue you find out that the Thing in here is not Ben Grimm, but it is it's Thunderbolt. No, it's Thunderbolt Ross, right? And yes, it's Thunderbolt Ross. He turns into the Thing in here because you see a good flashback in here of the characters, and then what you get is it seems like Tobal is Talbot is Maestro. That's the way you're thinking in here. Never actually shows him change, or if he dies. I mean, this is what happens to him. But you never actually, they obviously know each other in this series. And they start doing this crazy battle through the actual entire issue. And I was like, damn, what's going on in here? But this book is full of action. It's got a lot of fun moments in here between the two. And I just thought it was a good time. I thought it was a good read. And look at this page when Meister just like sits there, smashes him to the ground. I was just like, damn. And but by the time we get to the end of this, we wind up finding out that we have a mutant in here, and her name is Layla Miller. So I think she's from like X Factor or whatnot. I did some research from her, and she does a lot of, she's been around. So she's not some nobody character. And then we find out, seeing that Maestro and the Thing are going to they're going to team up together. So to try to take over Doom, which I thought was really neat. But these two being completely different, Hulk and Ben Grimm, I thought was an interesting twist on it. And I like seeing Ruby Summers in here. I thought she's a pretty cool character between Emma Frost and Scott Summers. I think that's pretty neat. But yeah, this is a good book. This is a good read. I had a lot of fun with it, a lot of action for me. So it's like a 4.5-star book for me too. There's certain things in books that for some reason just appeal to me that maybe others don't, but I like the action. I like what it brings to the table, and it just, I like when the books throw these little twists at me. So did you like this one? Did you not like this one? What'd you think, Nick?
It was a good book. There's a couple interesting facts about this book you should know, Mike. The Thing, he looks like the way Jack Kirby first drew him back in the 60s, the way his appearance.
Yes, he does. Yep.
And Peter David wrote the previous Feature Imperfect series. The one that came out like in the early 90s, the 2-issue miniseries.
Yes.
Peter David wrote that one too.
Yep. Yeah. So that's,
so it was nice they brought him on. It was nice they brought him on here.
Yeah, I agree. And he, you know what? And he does all the future stuff for, Spider-Man 2099, or he does Spider-Man 2099, Peter David. He does the current 2099 for the Secret Wars stuff. And I like those types of stories. And I hope that he sticks around to do more of that stuff. So
he's going to be sticking around doing Spider-Man 29 after Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Especially that new costume.
Oh, yeah.
And it's nice the fact that they allow him to still write the character.
It's great. It's great.
I mean, he co-created the, why not?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I can't wait to look forward to it. All right, so number three this week for me was A-Force, issue number 2. I'm looking forward to this book after the series, after this series actually ends, and then we get the all different Marvel comes around. I just like this book because I like seeing everything unravel. I mean, we kind of find out what's going on with this. There's a portal going on, and it obviously has to do with the Secret War universe, because it's funny, we were talking about little X-Men and the Avengers, and they're in there as well. And there seems to be always bad things happening with our mysterious character that fell from the sky. And I know people said her name, but I don't remember who she was, what they said her name was. But it was this girl right here, and Nico takes her in, and she's kind of taking care of her, and she's kind of like almost like a replacement for Miss America, and she's kind of protecting her and trying to make her feel part of the group. And then there's all kinds of havoc that happens in the issue, and you wind up seeing a Sentinel come from the flipping sky, and I was like felt like I was watching a cartoon. I was like, it's like you see the big Sentinel come in, he's like, commence destruction. And I was like, hell yeah, that's awesome. I want to see some violence and shit. And so you see him come through the freaking sky, and I was like, oh, that's a great artwork page right there. I was like, that's awesome. And it faces our new character here, our Nico saves her. And I thought that was really well done. And then, after this whole battle is over, you wind up seeing them trying to kind of fight over about this girl, saying, oh, she's troubled, she's not trouble, should she stay, should she go? And you kind of got Jen keeping Medusa in check here. It seems like Medusa's the second in command of everything, but She-Hulk is the one that's the Baroness here, so she's got to keep everyone in check. And I love how Nico is so protective of her, and I just like the character moments in this book. And this book has really strong potential here. And at the end, you wind up seeing Jen go into the portal and where it takes her, and it takes her to a desolated time, which I don't know if this is. No, it is the United States, and it's in Doom State. So I thought maybe this was the different universe of the Marvel universe, but it is in Doom World or some way, or Manhattan or whatnot. But I don't know. But this was a cool issue. I really enjoy this book. I think what's good about it is the artwork. I get so attached to the artwork in here. Really draws me into the story. So, but that's why I got my number 3 this week. Any thoughts on A-Force?
I thought the book was good, Mike.
Yeah.
The character the way she looked, it kind of reminded me of the character Celeste from DC's Teen Titans.
Yeah, that's true.
Overall appearance.
Yep. Yeah.
I highly doubt this is the same character. They probably based it on her, but I highly doubt it's the same character.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, no, I agree with you here. I just like how Nico's like taking care of her. It's like puts a bow in her hair and everything. I just thought that it's just so funny. She's like this cosmic character, and it's just like, hey, let's stick a realistic big bow in your hair just to know, like, you're a girl and everything else. And the cool thing is I really like the facial expressions from this character, because if you notice, she doesn't talk. So you get all her expression and all her emotion from her eyes, and you can tell she's like such a lighthearted character. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this book, and I can't wait to see what else it brings to the table in the future. So yeah. Mm-hmm. But all right.
And you probably noticed though that the female Loki, it looks like she has. I mean, it's almost implied by the artwork she might have a thing for Nico.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, isn't she like a foster parent though, or something like that?
Well, it's just a female version of Loki. I mean, Loki is sometimes depicted. Sometimes he might be depicted as bisexual, because he tends to swap between either male or female, depends on what he wants to do.
Right.
So it could be that this is just a bisexual version of Loki. But the thing is, Nico is like, what, 15 or 16 years old, and Loki is really much older than she is.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Yep, she is. All right, a couple comments here. I got Sleepy Reader 666. Welcome, Damien, for watching the show. Says Spyro was a lot of fun, nice meaty issue, lots of story, and cool. And he also says, hi, Mike, and everybody else. Let's see if I got anything else. And yeah, that's it for right now. 2 more issues to talk about, and it's got to be quick. I got like 3 minutes. So we started a little bit later because we had some technical issues. Number 2 for me this week was Battle World Ultimate End issue number 3. I really like this issue. I love Ultimate End from the first issue, and last issue was good. This issue was good. We get the story continues here with I guess with Hulk being captured, because we had the 2 Hulks being captured at the end of this issue. They were doing battle in the prison. You get Banner that's being captured, and there was all kinds of chaos going on. And Tony Stark is arguing with Nick Fury. I mean, Nick Fury is off the wall in this issue, and he's just sitting there. He's like, this is my house. I can't have 2 Captain Americas, 2 Tony Starks, this, that, blah, blah, blah. So character interactions were just insane in this issue, and they refused to release Banner because they feel that he's such a threat. And you get to see a flashback how the 2 actual met up with each other, which I thought was pretty cool. I thought that was really neat, how you get the 2 versions of Hulks meeting up with each other, and how their gamma radiated powers actually intertwined with each other, and they set each other off, and they just did this crazy battle that you got to see. You actually get to see the Punishers go against each other in this issue as well, which I thought was wild, because I couldn't tell actually who won this battle, if it was the Ultimate Punisher or the 616 Punisher. So I wasn't sure what was going on there. The Wrecking Crew was in this book, which was awesome. And the one thing that was really well done, again, I can always say it's Mark Bagley's artwork is phenomenal. It is such a well done issue. People get killed in this issue too. And at the end of it, you get the Hulk getting released because of a power outage. But who saves him? Freaking Tony Stark. He puts freaking Banner in the Tony Stark armor, and he starts flying away. That was awesome. I thought that was so well done, and it's just to be continued. And I was just like, because he needs him. He needs him to kind of figure out what's going on with the universes here, because he knows that there's something wrong. And obviously there's the portal going on and the Secret Wars going on, so there's all kinds of stuff going on. But really great stuff. What you think, Nick?
Good comic. Though I thought it was odd, though, that how Nick Fury was acting this issue, because he doesn't normally be so territorial, like a territorial baron.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like, and it seems like a jurisdictional dick match.
Yeah, absolutely. He was definitely that way. He was just all over the place. And, but Tony even said it, though, too. He's like, this is not the Nick Fury I know. So there's something up there.
And I think this issue also kind of confirms that the Hulk that attacked the Ultimate Hulk is the 616 Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% there. All right. So last comic of the week, the number one comic of the week before I have to go and haul my butt to work, it is Secret Wars number 4. It was a great issue for me. I've been enjoying this series. I think it is so well written, and I'm not a huge fan of Hickman's work, but for me, I think this story is just hitting it on all cylinders. In this book, you wind up seeing the Thor's dealing with the Cabal. You wind up seeing Doctor Strange trying to communicate with the other heroes on what was going on how Doctor Doom and Strange, how this world became. And probably the other thing that got me here was that Cyclops is kind of like being the traditional dickhead that he is. He thinks he's got the Phoenix Force. He thinks he can battle everybody, and that's not the case when you read this issue. But the cool thing is that you actually see Doom watching everything that's going on, and he felt everything was under control until he saw who? Reed Richards. And as soon as he sees Reed Richards in this issue, he finds himself necessary that he has to go there and figure out how to stop everything. And it was just cool to see them face to face with each other. And when things got really heated up in here, Thanos sits there and calls Doctor Strange out, or I'm sorry, Doctor Doom out, and he sits there and he says, "Oh, do you think you're, you got to tell people to your face that you're God?" And he's like, "I am God," and he kind of thrusts everybody away. So there's good dialogue moments in there. There's this good part in here too, where Cyclops tries to battle him, and Doctor Doom sits there and he snaps Cyclops' neck. I was like, well, good, Doctor Doom. I'm happy that you killed him. But the crazy thing is here is at the end of this issue is Doctor Strange, when he sends everybody else, and him and Doctor Doom are talking. And now remember, Doctor Strange was probably the most trustworthy person. It was his ally, his side-by-side man. And he sits there and he tells Doom, he's like, after all these years and after everything that you have, he's like, Reed Richards still gets under your skin. And he doesn't like that. And he basically just destroys Doctor Strange. And I was just like, holy cow, you got to be kidding me. And here, for the first time, you see the cracks in Doom's battle world. because he realizes now that he has these heroes here, and he realizes that he knows what's going on, and he knows now that he couldn't trust Strange, and he destroyed them. So I just thought that this issue was really brilliant, and at the end of it, I was just like, wow, I was blown away by it. And I think the overall series, I think, is very well done. And as a complete story right now, I think Secret Wars has delivered. In my opinion, obviously, but I think it's been worth. The main story has been definitely worth it. What did you think, Nick?
It was definitely a good issue. Um, it was definitely better written than Convergence.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this though, but when they first show the heroes, what's the first thing that draws your eye as soon as you look at the page when they first show like Doctor Strange, all the heroes?
With Doctor.
Basically, when I saw that, I mean, the first obvious thing that you probably notice on that page is that you see Spider-Man's butt.
No. Yeah. Which page was that? When he first goes to the heroes?
Show the heroes after that brief fight between the Cabal and the Thors.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, I see that.
And they did the same thing with Sue Storm too. They
Yeah.
showed off her butt too in the issue.
They got a lot of thing with the
It
butts
was
going on in there.
weird. I mean, for Sue Storm, I don't have a problem with it. As long as they're doing with the Valerie, that's fine. Don't do it with
Right.
Valerie. Sue is fine. Valerie, since she's a little girl, we don't need to show like, oh, let's just define her that she has a rear end.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean,
And still Hickman is not allowing something that I think everybody's wanted to see happen. Namor from 616 and Ultimate Reed Richards have a conversation. And maybe also, since they saw each other in this issue, Ultimate Reed Richards have a conversation with 616 Reed Richards.
right. Yeah,
I would think that conversation would be interesting.
yeah, I think so too. You might see it. I don't know. You'll see what happens because now he's got to interact with. He knows that these guys are around, and he has to find them now. Strange sent them elf in other places, so it'll be interesting to see how he tries to find them. I think I think this is a good series. I think it's well written. I think it delivers, and it makes Doom very like a very evil character in here. And I had a good time with this one. And again, I was happy to see Cyclops get killed. I loved it. I just loved it how he picked him up and just snapped his neck. And it's like, you can take your freaking Phoenix Force and you can shove it up your ass. That's basically what he was telling him because that power meant nothing to him.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've ever seen it where Doctor Doom is the main antagonist of a crossover story.
Yeah, this
because
was really.
When was the last time you ever did Doom the main antagonist?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was good, and the other moment that I get out of there is out of all the power, like he said in the issue, like Doctor Strange said, of all the power that he has, he let Reed Richards bother him because he knows that his wife is, that's his true wife. That Sue is his true wife, and he knows that it's not real love. It's obviously he created that love. And I wonder if somehow she gets in more contact with him that she's going to remember him, so that will be interesting to see too, so I think maybe that's
probably knows a bit of a, I don't know if he knows a bit of continuity error when it comes to her because Ree is wearing the costume he was wearing when he last was seen, and Sue is wearing her first Future Foundation costume for also the symbol to be for.
Yes, I did notice that.
And Valerie is wearing the same costume she's always worn since the Future Foundation was first started.
Yeah.
Same exact costume.
Yeah.
You notice how the floor is styled like the Fantastic Four reboot movie?
Yeah. Yep. I noticed that too. Yep. Absolutely. So, but yeah. So real quick, I'm gonna take these comments and then we're gonna sign off. So let's see if I got any more comments. Oh, my bad. It's got to load. Hold on.
Some comment at anything.
Let's see, I think I got 13. 5 minutes ago. The problem with Green Arrow. No, that was a while ago. 17's. Boo, Greg Land. Boo. That was for Future Imperfect issue. Let's see if we got anything else. No, that's all that showed up right now. So that's it. But yeah. So okay. So we'll end the show. So guys, I want to thank everyone that tuned in and watched today. Thank you for your comments, and I know this is a longer show than usual, but like I said, from time to time, I will have co-hosts on here. Next time I have a co-host, it'll be somebody different, and then there'll be a rotation going around. So if you want to be on the Countdown Live, just leave me messages below, and I would love to have you guys on my show, and we can talk comics just like Nick and I did. So guys, as always, you've seen the worst, you've seen the best, and then you've seen all that other stuff in between. So until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer and Nick Lenz signing out. And guys, we'll see you real soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye, guys.